Right, so there we go. We are live now. So welcome everyone to Layer 5's websites meeting. This is a weekly meeting that happens every Monday, and we talk about various websites, the designs around various websites, and also our work in progress system design system. So if you have any items to share about around these issues, you can for sure add them in the meeting minutes. I'll drop this link in chat. Also, make sure you write your name in the attendees right here. And so we have a couple of item on various websites that we'll be talking about. But before we get started, let's follow Layer 5 tradition. And that is like, if you're joining this call, irrespective of whether you joined newcomers meeting or other projects meeting, if you are specifically joining websites meeting for the first time, you get to take the mic. You can unmute yourself and talk about how did you come to know about the community, how's your journey going so far, and what's your interest. So do we have any newcomers on the call today? I see Hadi had it. So would you mind giving your intro?
Yeah. So, hi, myself Hadi Heather, and I have been uh, contributing, and I have been contributing on various projects for about 2 years. So, I found about Meshri from LFX, and from there, I have applied to the migration of the UI to Next.js 13 and Material version 4 to version 5. And yeah, that was a bit how I came to know about the Meshri.
Welcome to the community, Hadi. And like I also had this small request to for all of you. Like if you have good bandwidth, we can open your webcam. So it's always nice to talk to people rather than just voices. And so yeah, like for the spring batch, we have around 5 of the LFX projects out there, and you all are encouraged to go and apply there. So I'm sure I'll be also listing down the links in the chat shortly after the meeting starts. So once again, thank you for introducing. I'll also look for any more newcomers on the call, but I don't think we have any. So then we'll be starting the topics. And so first one is from me on layer5.io. And so this is about adding the components on individual integration pages. So recently the components were added in each integration pages. Like if you go on layer5.io and then in the integration section, you would see a list of all the integrations that supports Meshri supports. So all of these now have components listed in their individual files. So for example, if we go on this Azure application gateway with Meshri, this has 4 of the components, and so this is still a work in progress. So you see there's some enhancement needed in terms of how it's styled and what should be the content here. But the support that I've added is just listing down these components that are available. And so I'll share this PR's link in chat for any of you to go and have a look. Right here, I'm also making a call for collaboration. So if you have familiarity with C++ and you just wanted to get started, so this could be an issue where we can collaborate and you can help with, so as per the feedback we get, we can style them properly. And also like when we'll have description for each components, we can, show them here. So that will be more informative than just having the logo and title. So anybody who will be wanting to collaborate on this, so then you signal right now, or you can also signal in Slack channel, and we'll then get in touch. So I'll wait for 5 seconds if any one of you would want to do it. So you can signal right now.
Yeah, one thing I'll ask. I don't have host permissions anymore to be able to do this. But so Shubham, can you mute, please? I think you're still around those angry taxi cab drivers from last time. They're not angry today, but you're welcome to unmute to say things. But in the meantime, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I just joined now. I'm just connecting my Bluetooth earphones with this.
And
Just
you're muting. Wonderful. Cool. Do you really need help on this, Vivek? Or like, and the reason I'm saying it like that is because I don't know what you've got left necessarily. Like what you have left is probably some of the harder stuff around getting a full description, a full description for the components themselves. And I'm not sure how you're going to get who's going to help you on that, how they would. That would be, yeah. Or how can people help?
So I think that's something that we should be talking about in Mastery Development meeting. Basically, for that, we will be needing to, enhance the, get the description from the spreadsheet. I'm sure that we do have description for these, if I'm not wrong. So then the Golang script that, updates the docs, that will be needing to enhance. So maybe Uzair can help with this.
Cool. Okay. So So can anyone here help? Is there a
Yeah.
different aspect that you're looking for help on?
Yeah, so I basically wanted to get feedback, and I think the UI UX are on the call, they would want to help in that regard. So currently, like for each of the components for user right now, there's this logo and then the title right now. But when we will have description, we would want to show the title and the description. So currently, like is this like is this like it will do or not? Like, is there any enhancement needed in this, or we are good to go
ideally,
with?
yes. If you would please enclose the icon, the component icon inside of the same rounded rectangle that you have for the name, and change the styling of the rounded rectangle itself. Make them all consistent in size. Make it a grid. It is a grid, but make them all consistent size. Right now, they're not even. The icons aren't the same size. Neither are the rounded rectangles. And so somebody was in a hurry. So like, yes, you do need help. Actually, as it turns out, it doesn't look great. Give it some space
Yeah.
between the, add some padding around your icon as well. And then if you would add some, notice the lack of vertical white space between the heading of this section and the start of the components list, yet the inordinate amount of vertical white space between the second row of the components. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
While we're here, if you don't mind, if you scroll up a little bit, Ritik is, if you scroll the other direction a bit, there you go. This particular section here, are you thinking of something else happening here?
Like we can dynamically change the Mastery logo with the icon like of the page currently we are in, and the yellow part, like it looks like a clickable because we use yellow saffron color for a clickable, so that color can be changed.
Alrighty. So okay. So to repeat that, you're thinking the translucent Mastery logo in the background, perhaps that would change based on, in this case, it would be a Kubernetes logo. It would change based on the,
like for
context.
GCP, we will have the GCP logo, and for the AWS, we will have the AWS logo over here.
And on the left-hand side, instead of yellow, you'd put a different color, or you're going to do
Different
design?
different thing. I'm not sure right now, like, but yeah, no, but not rich saffron.
Okay. Also, I don't know. I mean, ready to use. Okay. Maybe the cost-effective solutions part. Maybe that's not. Maybe we could get a different one. There. One thing that Archit gets hung up on as well is like maintaining symmetry. Maybe is one of the few ways that I know to articulate it, and that is you use capital lettering for some of the bullet points and not for all of them though. So just the lack of consistency is disturbing. Either lowercase them or uppercase them, or capitalize them rather. But the mix makes you wonder what's special about user-friendly that it needs to be lowercase, or what's special about an extensive icon library that needs to be capitalized? Nice.
Right.
And, yeah.
Like since we are talking about this section, so one more thing, like the yellow white part inside this on inside the yellow part, so that has a lot of spacing at the right side. So Ajit, if you can expand the white to take the whole width, not
that's
to
gonna-
the totally right.
Yeah, but you need to provide a new design. If you said you're gonna, you said you were
Okay,
gonna take out the color, and I asked if you're just gonna change the color, and you said no, I'm gonna, design something new,
Yeah.
and then I wouldn't ask our chit to expand it if you don't have a.
right, okay.
Nice. Are you thinking that the green on the left-hand side might become a platform-specific color?
Can be, but
Good. Do it.
I have to create. I have to create the markup.
Yeah, make it blue.
Then-
Make it blue if it's Kubernetes. Make it whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or redesign the whole thing. So, anyway, thanks so much, guys, for putting this in. I don't know if everyone else is aware, but there are a couple hundred integrations that Meshry has that it orchestrates infrastructure with. This particular page that we're on reflects on how it is that Meshry integrates with one of Azure's services, the Azure Application Gateway, and it gives some specific info about the integration. Some of the info is generic, so you'll see some of the same info on every page. It's really difficult for, or it takes a long time to fill in all the specific details for each of the integrations, but many of you are working on that. So the features on the left-hand side are specific to the application gateway. That's nice. The first paragraph in the overview, if you can point, yeah, thank you, is specific to application gateway. This is probably my fault. It's missing a period, which is sort of inconsistent with the other paragraphs. That's something to be aware of when we're filling in a lot of this data inside of a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet is quite extensive and it gets published every night. The information gets published to this site, it gets published to meshry.io, it gets published to docs.meshry.io, it gets published to Meshry UI, it gets published to Meshry Cloud. It gets used a lot. Anyway, Vivek and Archit and Ritik, they've been working to create a few things, but one is this section down below that inappropriately identifies this integration. Well, or maybe it's appropriate at the moment, but probably not. It identifies an Azure integration as a Kubernetes, part of our Kubernetes solution, and it points people to, if you click on the Learn More, it points people to the solution page for Kubernetes, which is this a public page? I suppose it is, huh? Diagram plus config equals. All right. Good. Anyway, if we have an Azure page, maybe we don't. If we did, it would point to the Azure solution page, but I suspect we don't at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, we don't have.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I retract what I had suggested, that that Azure Application Gateway was inappropriately linked to Kubernetes, but nope, since we don't have an Azure page, this is appropriate. So anyway, good. If you go back real fast, I'll try to finish off that rambling. Good. So each one of these pages will link to their respective solution page, because what Meshry does with Azure, well, it integrates with Application Gateway, but it also does a lot more with Azure specifically. And so this page goes somewhat deep on what Meshry does with Application Gateway, But if you're a user of Azure, likely you'll have the question, well, what else does Meshry do with other services on Azure? I use other services on Azure. And so that's what this section is supposed to tell people. And it's not actually, which is in part why a redesign is going to be helpful, because it should answer that question.
Oh, I have a suggestion. Like, what we can do is we just can create a circular design where we can list the services that Azure provides and Mishri integrates, like Mishri and AWS, Azure, whatever the services that, like we are using for Azure, we can just provide it as a circular, like this service, this service, this service. So designing that part can be implemented.
Vivek, I think you were looking for feedback. So do you have a response, or Archit or Ritik, the guys that have been working on this, or others?
Can I
Feedback?
say something, if possible? Shubham, I think what you are suggesting was a page where all of other solutions are referenced on, and then from there you can access those individual solutions separately. Is that what you meant?
No, I was just thinking like here only in this page only, like we just create a small section, circular section, or circular or any preferable design where we can just implement in such a way that whatever features layer 5 uses of Azure, we can just display that features and click on that features will display a new page. How that feature is been used in layer 5 website, like how we are integrating Meshri with the Azure. So implementing that part can be to a different page, and only the links will be there in the image. So it will be a circular image. So only one particular for Azure, particular for AWS, particular for containers, or following.
Yeah, Shubham, we already do that kind, not in a circular fashion, but yeah, we already do that in a honeycomb style. So
Yeah, I saw that in the integration page it is there, but
it
the
also on every page. So yeah.
okay.
Thank you, Subham and Rex and Ritik. Like, let's not stop here. Like, if you have any more feedback on this one, crack open a topic on discuss.layer5.io, and then we can talk more there. So also, like, more people have context on this. So once again, thank you. And I'll be looking on to improving this. So thank you for the feedback.
Yeah,
Okay,
Vivek,
so
yeah, Vivek, one other thing to note is that the style of the component rounded rectangle that you have, it's really, let me share this for a moment, because this looks slightly different. If you can see the carousel here and how people navigate the categories, well, it looks extraordinarily similar to what you have for the components. And so, yeah, it could be confusing to users who think that they might be navigating a carousel.
yeah, so yeah, I'll be changing that too.
Nice.
So
Hey,
thanks
hey,
very
you,
much.
hey, you wanted feedback. I'm just not. Cool.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ritik.
Anyway, by the way, Anyway, thanks a bunch for doing this and doing it fast and doing 15 other things at the same time. And so that model, just to read aloud what this section says, is if you go up real fast, and just for context for everyone, what's going on here is if you go to the very top, so Meshri, again, it integrates with, a couple hundred different individual technologies. And this particular technology, it's specifically an application gateway service, which is a network-centric service on the cloud provider Azure. Fine. And it discusses it some. Okay, good. Well, I use application gateway. Now, application gateway does a lot of things. It's a load balancer, so it supports SSL termination and offloading. It supports round robin algorithm, blah, 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 this stuff. Oh, actually, some of that's on the page. If you go down, I don't use application gateway. I never have, but that's clearly what it does. If you go down, sorry, lost my train of thought. If you go back to the top, I'm a user. I'm here. My train of thought is I use this. It looks like, oh yeah, those are some of the same features that I use that will help enhance my experience. Okay, great. And if you scroll down, and then right here, it's like this, the way that we've got the page laid out currently is like, also, if you use other services on Azure, click this Learn More button to see all the rest of what Meshry does with Azure. That's what this needs to say, and it totally doesn't. Okay, but assuming that it does, I would most likely say, yeah, I don't just use Azure Gateway, but anyway. And so I am curious about what else Meshry does. So I might nav away. If I don't, I'm like, well, if I don't, and oh, I do want to learn how this actually specifically works, is because that's that next section, see it in action. And then after that, like, oh, it of the application gateway capabilities or things that the application gateway does, here are 4 specific components, 4 specific aspects of that service that Meshry deeply integrates with. Scroll down just a little bit if you would. And then, hey, of this same category, cloud native networking, that's what Azure Application Gateway falls into. Here are other technology integrations that are of the same category. That's nice. 2 thought, or 3 or 4, 10 thoughts. I'm just saving myself room in case. I would submit to you all that perhaps the 4 more specific integration points, we would probably move those directly underneath. Right, Vivek, which is what I've been showing on the, to give, can you go to make.com/integration/anything? LinkedIn or Gmail maybe, or our page doesn't need to necessarily look like this one. This is just an example of the fact that there's a product, Make, it has lots of integrations, and it's a large part of its value is the fact that it has so many integrations. And so an integration that they have is with Airtable. If you go to the very top, Make integrates with Airtable. Great. You can connect Airtable and Make. Nice. You can see the documentation or swipe your credit card here. Oh no. And then what it says is, on the very, very next section, it says, hey, here's a little more specifics about the integration with Airtable. Here's these 8 components that they have. Oh yeah, that's of interest to me because that's specifically what I'm looking at, blah, blah, blah. And if you scroll just past these modules, this section, it then says, well, by the way, you can connect, here's other relevant technologies that integrate with Airtable. Because Make integrates with these other technologies, you can then facilitate an integration with Airtable. So it's what they've done here as well is tons of cheating in my mind, which is fine. It seems to work out pretty well. You go to the very top, they have 3 sections that we've looked at so far. One is they spit out basically the same text on every single integration page, just like we do. They just take the placeholder Airtable and switch it out. You can go to all the pages and you'll see it's just different. If you go to the next section, this one it's all formatted the same on every single different type of integration, but this one's specific to Airtable. This is the only one that actually gives you a little bit more insight as to what Make.com does with this specific integration. And it's like, oh, you can delete a record, you can add a record, and great. And if you go down to that next section where it says, you can integrate Airtable with any other, this is completely generic and completely just saying, hey, we have a bunch of other integrations in case you're interested. If you go down past this section, wait, if you don't mind, it said load more, get started for free. Okay. Okay, if you go down, then here's a great section. Just go, if you go past the Airtable workflows. Can you go to the next section, please? Cool. Very helpful here. Hey, what they're saying is there's any number of templates that already have some designs, mesh map designs, for you to use that use Airtable. Awesome. Guess what I'm going to be asking for in the not too distant future. We already have all this data. We have contributors that are on the call that create designs that use specific integrations, use specific technologies. They publish those designs to a catalog. There's a central catalog of them all. They're all qualified with, or they all are earmarked with what technology they use inside, which means at some point we can have a list of the various templates that are available, which just means, in part, what I'm saying is just go copy make.com. Or I'm not really saying that. I'm saying, hey, they put some thought into it. They're cheating in some areas, and I use that word in not necessarily a negative sense. I mean, like, yeah. Anyway, but if you come and just look at the page, I don't know anything about Airtable. I've never used it, but I get the sense that it's a Google Sheets competitor. If you go down, or it's a form-based thing. Okay, and they have a generic FAQ section. And go down. All right, and how it works. Okay. Generic and some social proof and swipe your credit card. No, just kidding. All right. Well, hey, that flowed a little bit better than our page. If I was working at make.com, I might suggest, if you go back one, I think this is helpful to us. If you go all the way back to the top, great. High level integration, great. See the docs. The next one is the component, the specific modules, the specific components, and you go to the next one. To me, I don't know that I would have put this next. It has less value than if you go to the next section. This has tons of value. This is very real and specific, these example templates. Very helpful, get you going, save you time. And then I would have put this third. Or I would have put it above the. So anyway, does anybody else want to comment on this? Super important. We got a couple hundred pages that all look the same. Rex might have some thoughts. If you go back to our page and sort of scroll from top to bottom again.
So it's going to be, it's not much of a thought really. It's just an action plan that I already had in mind. I'll probably reach out to Vivek and maybe we could brainstorm something that could work out. I saw your comments in Slack a while back, and apologies, I hadn't gotten around to that, but it was part of the action plans to redesign some part of layer 5, and this integrations aspect came up one way or the other, and I had some ideas, so possibly I'll share that with Vivek, and maybe we could come up with something else.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, that's very timely. In the meantime, Vivek, as you try to get the component info out, if you would maybe put it as go back to the top again. I guess it would be the second section. Yep. Vivek, does that make sense?
Like, what did you say? Like, yeah, second section. What
If
should I
you would,
open it?
the new components that section that you're asking for feedback on, if you would just in terms of the sequence of flow on the page, that's probably the second most important info. Those
Okay.
components.
Yeah, I got it. So yeah, thanks Lee and others. So now let's go to the next item, and that is from Archit. So Archit has a couple of updates. So Archit, would you like to?
So I completed the Kubernetes multi-cluster page. this is how it looks. I still have to update the images on this page. Any feedbacks? Yes.
In comments, there's a feedback from Lee, and that is like missing a CTA.
Okay.
Yeah, also the animation that we have on our heroic section, like that needs to be changed as well.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess. I
Which
guess now
animations
you,
should I?
yeah, I guess you now need new images graphics for this. So now if you can scroll down a bit. Yeah, by the way, thank you Ajit for doing this. Yeah, where this learn more takes the user to.
This will take you to the Docker extension HD page.
Okay. Okay, now if you go back, yeah, this image needs to be changed, like, because it's not of a high quality. Yeah, the Docker extension. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite old also.
Uh, yeah, right. If you scroll down. Okay, machine. Okay.
We need images.
Right, like if also, like, if you can increase the width of the cards, so that, because right now these are very small, so they will not be clearly visible, so make it a 2 column. And yeah, actually, if you also show the mobile version as well as the white version of this page.
Okay, so this is the white version.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, now if you move to go to the top section. Yeah, stop. Yeah, here you can see that Docker, the spacing between the hero section and the second section, we have a lot of white space. So in a mobile view, what you can do is put the title of the Docker extension from Meshery at the top of the image. So in this way, we will not have that lot of white space. So same here, like you can follow the same flow, like title, then image frame, content, or the title, content, or image. Yeah.
I'll make this learn more button to center.
Right, a little bit inside. Yeah. So anyone else have any feedback? So
By the way, this is a part of the solution pages we are actually creating because because only one page has been created till now. And this is like the second page.
yeah, okay, so you are following the flow that we have in our site map. So that's great.
Yeah. So I guess no more feedback. The other PR that I wanted to share was like I did a little restructuring. So according to sitemap, diagramming orchestration pages should be under solution. So like I've added If you can see this, that the now under solution, like for the solution, I've done all the changes for the solution, and now I have to do for other pages too. That's it from my side.
Got it. And yeah, please, would you please make sure to, put these links in chat so that who would like to, take a look, they can go and
Sure, Vivek, sure.
I will share my screen once again. And next update is from Vivek, but I'll quickly take a look if we have. No, we don't. So then we'll skip this item. And next item is from Ashpars about adding some animations. So Ashpars has been doing some work on, adding animations on the homepage of Layer.io site. So I'll just take a look if Ashpars, yeah, he is with us. So Ashpars, would you mind sharing your?
Hey Vivek, I have sent a message. I guess you haven't looked at that. Actually, everything was going okay, and I have added some animation on scroll as well. But it's getting crashed in my local machine. Like I don't know what happened with it, but I am facing in build
that's
like
okay.
in my local machine.
Thank you for sending what
I'm
you can
really
do.
sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh?
you
That's
can.
it.
Yeah, that makes sense. As what happens. So you can submit a PR and you can include a video in there so that we can take a
Yeah,
look.
I have. Yeah. I'll show you that. Thanks for understanding. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. So
Really sorry. I
then,
don't. Yeah. Thanks.
then there's item from Shari. So I'll just take a look. Yeah, please. Yeah. So sorry. Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So I was tasked to create the brand page for Mastery.io. So one of the challenges that I'm facing is, so I've created the page. All of the contents are here. So I'm facing some trouble with the like making it exactly similar to the brand page that is available on the layer5.io, because it's based on React, and this is a simple JKL HTML CSS site. So that is why it's taking a bit of a time. So I needed some help on this respect, that if someone could assist with some like maybe some animations, and because since it's based on React, so all of the components have to import in basic HTML CSS. So that is why it's taking a bit of a time. Else, yeah, that is the issue. All the layouting has been done, as you can see, but some components I need and animations I need help with. So yeah. And I think Rex was I think Ritik, I think you Sudhanshu texted, he put it on GitHub that if Rex could had her design to share.
So it's really nice that you are also on the call. So I would just notice something, and that is like the skewed images that Ritik pointed out. And since Rex is next, and he'll be demonstrating a new design that he has for this brand page. So in a thought that this necessarily doesn't have to be similar as to Layer5.io. So let's take a look at that too, and then we can have more talk about it. But yeah, if anyone has any other thoughts or any feedback for Shari here, so let's talk about that now, or we can skip to Rex. Rex can demonstrate what he has got, and then we can move forward.
I would like to ask that, sorry, did you make it responsive? Like last time we discussed, it was not responsive. So is it responsive now?
Responsive, yeah, I'm trying to make it responsive, but I'm currently focusing on getting the components for now. It's a bit of responsive, but not fully. Mobile, it's not fully responsive, as you can see. I'm currently working on the animations, as you can see here. I thought it should be very similar to the animations here, like these animations and all the other animations that are on the page. But yeah, so I just need help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, also, sorry if you share. Yeah. So here you can see the Meshri logo is skewed out. So
Yeah.
if you
Hey
can
guys,
just
it's
maintain
not
that.
why. Wait. Yeah. Very good. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know. Let's take a look at the design. If we're about to, I don't know why we spend time on trying to refactor what he's got here if we're gonna have a new design anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So Rex, you're up next. Let's see. Do we have Rex? Yeah, we do.
One second, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I came up with this. I have not designed the mobile version yet, but this is what I was able to piece together. I basically picked off all the Meshi elements on the layer 5 brand page, did a little addition to the text, and then so everything is specifically tailored for Meshi. If it's possible to get these layer 5 principles out of here and have just Meshi, that would be nice. But this was the only image I could find. And yeah, so this was primarily for the most part. So it's here in light mode and dark mode as well. It's also available.
Rex, can I ask one question? This Figma file is, could you share it to me? I'll start working on this. I think is it public, the Figma?
Why don't we get feedback first so that we know if it's
Oh,
actually
sure.
working in the first place, so yeah. But it's on the Meshi file, on Figma's Meshi file, if you're looking for it on the Meshi.io page.
Yep. I'll make sure, Rex, that I share that link. But I just wanted to ask quick question, and that is like, do you consider this design completed from your side, or do you have still anything left to add?
I don't think there's anything left to add from my end. However,
Yeah.
I'll definitely add anything that needs to be added to make the design better. So
Yeah. So like it's good. So any feedback if you have, so like there are a couple of UI UX around the call, and anyone, you are welcome to give your thoughts, any feedback if you have. So this will be a new page on Meshi.io/brand. So now is the time you can unmute, or through chat too, you can give your suggestions.
Yeah, Rex, yeah, go ahead, Lee.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, like how this layout is different than the layout that we have on a layer5.io brand page.
how is the layout different from the one we have at layer5.io?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's not much different. There's not much difference really. I think what's mostly different is the hero section, and most of the other things was just an incorporation of. I added the brand guide here because at the end of the day, it provides guidelines for how to make use of some of the assets that will be listed on the page, some principles and some guidelines. So that's why that was listed there. So it's not. I don't know that it's supposed to be an entirely different. It's literally a page stating these are what we work with for Meshi. So if there's something you feel I missed out, really like to know so that I can include this. But this is what I can come up with.
Yeah, okay. And also like if you move to the hero section.
Okay.
Yeah, like instead of you are using the charcoal and the Keppel green gradient over here. So instead of using that charcoal, that gradient of charcoal and the Keppel green, so instead of using charcoal, like we can use something different because this gradient looks a little like dull kind of.
Okay, so you're saying the gray part shouldn't be there; it should be instead a gradient of greens. Is that what you mean?
Not something in a darker shade of a gray, not the charcoal or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the gradient should be made up of two greens. That's what you mean, yes?
Not the two greens, but like you can look at our slides. So community slide is in our slide that we have the gradient black and
Okay.
Keppel green, so they look much better than the charcoal and this gradient.
Yeah,
You
perhaps.
said community. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Hey, in answer Rex's question that I interrupted, probably we should drop a couple of links just as for examples for inspiration of perhaps the well, wow. Perhaps the slanted white lines will overall make it a little light is in part what Ritik is referring to, and then also in part, I think the image itself, even if it didn't have the white lines, is the colors are somewhat muted, probably intentionally. I don't know if muted is the right. They're not as intense. Yeah, they're not at their full intensity, and so perhaps
They
that
have lower opacity, if that's what you're wondering. So
sure.
there's that as well. They have a lower opacity. That was intentional actually.
Nice.
I mean, I feel it's not so like a side something by the side. Of course, it insinuates that okay, you're coming here for maybe documentation regarding to Meshery, but that's not all there is. You actually have to check out the documentation. So, but I get the feedback. I'll probably check out those links if they're available and make the needed adjustments.
Oh yeah. Yep. Good concept behind it of like, sorry, hey, there's a collage or there's a collection of resources here inside of a kit. This helps get you going with well, how you officially represent Meshery, how Meshery is officially represented, largely its logo and variants of that. And then there's a couple of other sections of that are helpful. I'll get you the link with it's just a PDF. I think there's an Illustrator file, but it's also available in PDF, the bookmarks.
Okay.
You might.
That's good, right?
Yeah, that way you could cut out the layer 5 ones. But yeah, you might give consideration to a section on presentations. So outside of the logos and the bookmarks, things that people might be seeking out are, well, they're trying to represent, I'm assuming, trying to represent Meshery in one form or the next, whether it's on a web page or maybe they're giving a talk. And so we do have a Google Slides like a template Google slide deck that has templated or branded slides. That's a great resource to have here. Potentially it's its own section because it's like, hey, if you're giving a talk, here's a couple of sample presentations. Also, here's your template, or here's the template for those talks. And so something to think about. That might be a worthwhile section.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll definitely consider that. I'll expect the links and hopefully, I hope this, apart from all of these that have been pointed out, that they are. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, the question that he was about to ask. Yeah, I think Rex does this kind of a thing very well. Like, and that, if anything, maybe we would reduce the size of so Rex, like, had I not been here today, like in general, for this page, for my part, I mean, you have my trust that you would have gotten it right or good enough that it wouldn't have been worth like much feedback. Like, yes is the answer to the question you were about to ask. Looks great overall. Like, there's some nitpicking. Visual design ain't your visual design of graphics ain't your thing. And it's hey, you'll keep iterating. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. But great. One thing you might consider and is that perhaps reducing the size of the header itself or the main intro section, in part just because, I mean, it's fine that it's nice and large and it looks, outside of the graphics, it looks great, or like I can imagine better graphics and then it looks great. And what I'm trying to say is it is related to layer 5, but it is intended to be different. Like there's the so if it was even more divergent, that would be swell. You don't have to intentionally spend more time on diverging it. But part of how it becomes a little bit similar is that large heading, because it's historically we haven't had we didn't do a good job of having large headings or large intro sections on the other pages, but we have certainly on layer 5 IO. And so that was just one thing that comes to mind. You can still use a large section. Yeah, anyway, these are all like, hey, for my part, I think that the individual that is implementing this page can run with what's here. When the graphic changes, that ain't but like a 2-second change to swap out the image. No big issue. But the rest of the functionality of the page and the flow and the layout and the fact that there's sections and stuff. By the way, who was it who's working on the implementation? Shori, you're just making an excuse, my friend, about the Jekyll and the React stuff. Like Jekyll's easier to do. It's easier to have a basic HTML layout with CSS that lays out the page. And you don't, I mean, like I wouldn't lean on that being like, well, that's the issue and that's why it's not done. And that's why it's like, no, the issue is something else. Somebody that's touching the keys, perhaps. Like
Lee, thing is, I thought I have to make it exactly similar to the
sure,
layer.
even then it's still, it ain't true. Sure, make it exactly the same. It doesn't have to be in the same framework and the same. You can still do that. Like anyway, I would just own more of my shortcomings. Like
Okay, make it fast.
Well, in all fairness to Shreya, he actually did reach out to me, and possibly I could have helped out earlier, but I didn't reply earlier. I was quite unavailable. I've been for most of the weekend, so I want to use this medium to apologize. I probably should have gotten back to you. Maybe that could have helped out and provided some clarity. So we'll work it out and hopefully get something that we can get
by the next,
implemented.
I'll make sure it gets done. My bad.
All
right. Thanks folks for sharing updates. And
yeah, one more thing, Rex. Like, yeah, sorry. Wait. Yeah. Like Rex, if you go to the hero section.
Okay.
Yeah. So the heading that's the mesh kit. So mesh kit is one of our Meshri projects. So instead of saying mesh kit, we should change that to the Meshri kit.
Oh, it's actually one of our projects.
The mesh.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a mesh kit is a Meshri project. So we should not say that over here.
Note to self, my bad. I apologize. I'll make the needed changes. I'll adjust that. So the mesh kit. All right. No problem. Thank you.
So if any one of you don't have access to Layer 5 design files, so I have shared a self-invite link. If you click on that, so you will be, having access to all the design files that are there under the Layer 5, files. So like the design that you see on Meshri.io, layer5.io, and other sites, you will have access to all of those. So, make sure you click that link. And so these were updates on layer5.io. We have 1 minute. And so the next is docs.meshri.io, and this is an item about dynamic TOC menu. So if I quickly, for the context of everyone, I open it. So this that you see, the table of content right here, they are coming from a hard-coded navigation.yaml file. And what we want is to, just like on the home page, we have this dynamically list, and like most of them are similar to what we have here, these ones. So we want to, list dynamically. And so in this regard, Arshit and I were the persons to, work on. So Arshit, like, do you have any updates to share on this? All right. So we were exploring a couple of ways in which we can achieve this, and that was like reusing the same queries that are there on a home page. But the problem was like it was taking like humongous time, like 600 seconds. So each change that you do, you will have to wait 600 seconds for them to reflect in your local dev environment, and that was a limiting factor, I guess. So definitely we will have to think it in another direction how we can achieve the same thing. Like Lee also had some of the suggestions to there to do, but that also didn't seem to work, or maybe we are wrong somewhere there. But I would have expected Archit to say something on this, but I think he left the call. So, or like this could also be a potential place for you to work on. Like if you have any experience working with Liquid Shopify or the Jekyll, which is a Ruby framework, or even if you are like a JavaScript chap, so you can chime in this effort. And since we are over time, let me open a discussion forum post, and there I'll make this call for volunteers, and I'll also post this in documentation page. So keep an eye on that. That's this channel, so we can move from there. But meanwhile, like even any one of you are like thinking, have any question on this, and you want any answer, you can ask me right now. So probably with that we can wrap it up here today. So I think we don't have any. So yeah, if you make
Vivek,
up
I
your
just
mind, you can.
I just wanted to ask help regarding the images as we discussed before, like container images. So you designed a workflow and just you wanted some changes on that. So I just want to discuss that issue.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that I review that PR. Make sure you tag me in the website's channel, and that's really very simple. I mean, basic stuff to do. So yeah, please tag in the Slack channel. I'll take a look.
Sure, thank you.
So thank you
Right.
everyone for joining.
Before you leave, I had something that would better be placed for Wednesday, but since I just needed a bit of unlocking at this point, and I wanted to discuss part of the at least while you have maybe Lee on the call, I wanted to discuss a bit of the version 8 roadmap for V8, some enhancements for MeshSync. So if I could just have a bit of time, and then the rest can leave because it's more suited for Wednesday call.
Yeah, for that I'll sincerely ask Lee if we can continue right now, or like, yeah, so folks, like the website's meeting is officially over, so if you want to leave you can right now. But yeah, I'll let Lee answer this question right now.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to thank everybody and let them know what, let them know what the next topic is, they can. I've got some time.
Yeah, so before you start, Daniel, sorry. So yeah, once again, I'll thank you all of you to join us, and yeah, please do join next Monday too. And if you want to get updates on all the meetings that happen around the community, there is this community calendar that you can take a look at, and you can subscribe to it. It will send all the meeting updates to you. So yeah, see you on Wednesday's Mystery 11 meeting. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Bye. Please go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. Just a moment, I'll share my screen for. Okay, so primarily for V8, there is two particular things that we needed to support for MeshSync, and that is support for runtime registration of new fingerprints, and then support for composite fingerprints where keys span multiple entities, not just the entity being discovered. So first of all, I just want to go just an overview of the two features, present my understanding on the same, and then get feedback if that's what is expected or not. And first, for the support for runtime registration of new fingerprints, if we go to Playground, for example, and then we have the connection tab from here. Usually if you have, say, a service, I've tried looking for one, but I haven't gotten it to just try and replicate the same, like services like Grafana and Prometheus. You'd be able to, their status is discovered, but then you can try and register it, and then it will ask you to provide credentials for that particular service, and then it performs a test. If it's success, you can bypass that particular test if you wish to, and then the service becomes registered, and now you can see it on the connections tab. Now, my understanding of this particular feature for this one is a way to do that programmatically during runtime. So, which is essentially replicating the same procedure that we have user-driven on the UI, but now more into like from a code perspective as the services are being discovered. So basically, maybe to achieve the same, we would try and replicate the same scenario. So say when you get a service, we can get the service endpoint, and then given, if we also have, now we need the credentials, and the credentials, we maybe store them in form of secrets in the cluster. So using that, can we just make a call to the particular endpoint, the service endpoint that is given, and then
Wait.
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Why are we talking about credentials?
So, okay, I was leading, I started from now how you would register connection from this side of,
got it.
Yep. So in the flow that I've seen in the UI, you pick on a particular,
I get it, but why are we talking about credentials? Credentials don't have it. Okay. Are you going to use the credentials in discovery? You're talking about fingerprinting, right? Which is how to better, how to increase the specificity by which Meshery properly and confidently identifies a piece of infrastructure that it has discovered. Is like furthering its ability to discover and confidently identify that this element, this thing that I'm speaking to, is a Grafana or is a whatever. And do credentials come into that? We're talking about fingerprints.
Okay. Yep. Which is why I really needed to get that clarification, because maybe I was trying to solve for the wrong thing. And what I was trying to allude to as I was starting was, or rather, maybe the big question would be, are we trying to automate that functionality when we have a service, we have something that we've discovered something here, and we want to support it as a first-class citizen by making the way we do Grafana and Prometheus, or just extending the quote-unquote properties that we can get for that particular object?
Yeah, it's by the way, yes, Lee, credentials do have a role in discovery, advanced discovery. So I know it sounded, or yeah, anyway, they do. The initial part of what you're trying to do is like, if you go back to the two things that we said that we might be able to do in v0.8, it was configurable and tiered discovery. So support for runtime registration of new fingerprints. Great. Let's talk about fingerprints. Which is, what's a fingerprint?
To my understanding, fingerprints are properties of a particular, say, object.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Such that when the scenario is, just like you said, if somebody's running some infrastructure, they decide that, oh, maybe we'd like to use Meshery. Maybe it could help us run this infrastructure a little easier. Let's install Meshery. When they do, it's quite nice if Meshery takes a look around its environment and then comes back and shows the users, hey, here's all of what I see or Meshery sees in the environment. The smarter that Meshry is about the specific technologies that are present, the better, the better experience it can provide. In order to, so in order to make it smarter about the specific tech, it needs to identify it confidently. Like there's Kubernetes services, and behind a Kubernetes service can be any number of, it can be running any number of different types of technologies. Maybe it's a Grafana implementation or instance. Maybe it's a Prometheus instance. Maybe it's a Jaeger or a Fluentd or a could be anything. Could be Zoom, the Zoom streaming service. When Meshry goes to discover the fact that, oh, there's a Kubernetes service there. All right, it is it's the Zoom video streaming service. That's what that one is. If Meshry comes back and says, well, hey, I know that there's a Kubernetes service here, but if Meshry isn't smart enough to say, and I also know that it's streaming video on RTSP port something, like it's a, in order to do that, yeah, you're right. Meshry would need to be more intelligent about the particular properties, the particular attributes of a given service. It needs a framework to analyze those properties and then say, oh yeah, because you have RTSP open on this port, you're probably streaming video. Because your container image name was Zoom Inc. / video streaming service, like some of these things start to add up. Like, that's probably the Zoom video streaming service. And if enough of these attributes are strung together, at some point, it's like, look, 100% sure that's what you are. You couldn't be anything else, because this composite set of keys, these collection of properties, each one of them being a key, if you will, or just a collection of properties that when put together, they make, well, a fingerprint. Well, that's the Zoom video streaming service fingerprint. Because you match all these properties, I can properly identify you. Those integrations that we were talking about earlier on the call, the models, each model packages up specific info, specific details about the technology that Meshry is managing. So if we use Grafana as an example, Meshry, yeah, when you import the model for Grafana, it has a certain amount of info. If the fingerprint, the properties for the fingerprint that's inside that model aren't very well done or aren't very detailed, Meshry won't be able to confidently identify that something is Grafana. What's missing right now is that models actually don't have the concept of a fingerprint. Or like when you install a model, fingerprint isn't one of those things. And so that's what the fingerprint thing is about, is like, so when we look at what a model is today, and there's many examples of it in various places. As a matter of fact, on here, if you were to search on the site for models, or like analogy. Yeah, there you go, that first one. There's a depiction of what a Meshry model is and what entities are inside of a model. So if you were to click on that image to make it a little bit larger for everybody. On the right-hand side, there's the model concept. In this case, the example model is Prometheus, but it could say Grafana. So it's a package. It's like, hey, I'd like to import the Prometheus model into this Meshry system so that this Meshry system becomes much more aware of what Prometheus is as a technology, and so that Meshry can manage that technology much more deeply. And part of how it would be able to manage it is, it would know about these various components, like a Prometheus server, or it would know about all this stuff. One of the things that is not itemized here and listed here is a fingerprint. Is like that, or that concept that. Now, I'm not saying that we need to have fingerprint listed as another block. Like, rather, fingerprint might just be an attribute of the model itself. Anyway, we need a placeholder. We need to have fingerprints accounted for within a model. Yeah, and since you can dynamically register models in a running mesh tree, if that model, if we begin to include the concept of a fingerprint, then mesh tree can much more specifically identify a particular piece of tech. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I really captured it in the initial write-up that I had, but if I remember correctly, I had mentioned something to do with when we do register the components, because the components are if you want to put something into mesh tree, you have to register it as a component. And then I was saying that since the component has a structure of how the component should be in terms of, we can see, we can holistically identify the given parts of a component, like say the service, and it runs on this particular port. This deployment has a container that has this kind of a name. So I alluded to something close to, now MeshSync can infer back to our components repository, if I could put it that way. And then with the discovered items that it has of a particular entity, it can refer back and say, okay, this entity matches this particular names from this particular component, and so I think it should be this particular component. But I think the feedback that I got from that initial post was it wasn't really adding, like no new information was being added to that. So I got a bit confused for that one.
Yeah, right. Because it's already defined in other MeshSync design specs. There's a few of them out there, and it already articulates it. You're just rewriting it. So it wasn't adding anything new. Use the existing specs.
Okay, so if I could ask, yes, what I was rewriting was say on the other, but now what new thing would I be adding in this particular
fingerprints
enhancement?
Fingerprint inside the model. Yep, it's not that there isn't such a concept called fingerprint, or there isn't such a concept. Yeah, there isn't such a concept called fingerprint in the model today. That would be what you'd add.
Okay. Let me I'll go and try and look for the other
existing design specs.
Existing design specs, because I haven't, so that I see what's the gap, because I think I don't understand where the gap is, so that although yes, you have mentioned it, but then just to understand, okay, what is there already in the models, and then how can I add something on top of it? I think
perfect.
That's the thinking that I'm missing.
It makes much sense. Yeah. I think when you find that spot that talks about fingerprints, it probably won't articulate. It won't have much more articulation than what we just covered. If you make a comment in there saying, "Hey, I think this is it. We might be able to expand in this area." I can help expand in that area a little bit, or help identify where that gap is, or make some suggestions about. I can help you. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So on the other one, the tiered discovery, I don't think we're going to get to it based on the time that we have. Not on this call, but I mean, like in the release itself, the tiered discovery is the various stages of the discovery pipeline, and making sure that it's highly performant. I can't tell you how many times I've explained these things. Let's skip it and just focus on fingerprints, see if we can get that done. If you consider something like an adapter, there's a mesh tree adapter. Mesh tree server is running. There's no adapters installed. Some of the adapters that we have focus on service mesh, somewhat unfortunately, because people keep thinking that that's all that Meshry does, and it absolutely doesn't. Anyway, some of the adapters, or when you turn them on and connect them to Meshry server, they bring with them a model or multiple models. They register the model, and I'm mentioning this, it's basically the same thing. I'm just saying they have this facility, like they bring additional level of depth to how it is that Meshry can control a particular piece of technology. In those cases, often it's a service mesh. And in the same vein, when additional fingerprints are added, or a fingerprint is added, and Meshry can just much better say, oh, before I thought that Kubernetes service, I couldn't properly identify it confidently, but now that the purpose-built adapter for Istio is present and it has registered its models, well, now I know a lot more about what I'm looking for and how to handle that particular type of infrastructure. So I just said the same thing. I was just sort of saying that that's, if you think about it, if adapters are present in a deployment, Meshry is much more capable in that regard because those enhanced models have been registered. Yeah. The part of the particulars is that when the adapter spins up, registers the Meshry server and says, hey, here's some models so that you know how to better manage even more infrastructure. Great. Meshry server is just sitting there as mesh sync. It needs to then, when that model is registered and the fingerprints are in there, or that fingerprint is in there, is to then go talk to mesh sync, not mesh sync directly, but actually to the Meshry operator, update the custom resource, the mesh sync custom resource, just to say, hey, you're also looking for these, or here's some fingerprints that you should be aware of. So that as you're looking around and you're being informed of things, here's what you should look for these things, be informed of them. We're specifically interested in that. As you collect it and send that information back to Meshry server, you can have it pre-identified as Istio, if it was the Istio fingerprint. Having said that, I think we're going to find that there isn't enough time. Well, A, enough time, and B, like maybe we'll just have Meshry server be the one responsible for the fingerprinting. Maybe it's better if we do it at source ultimately, but perhaps mesh sync would just continue to send over generic Kubernetes information, and as Meshry server receives that and writes it to disk, that it would do a subsequent round. Like the concept of tiered discovery starts to come into play here, where the initial set of discovery is mesh sync learning about those resources, sending over information about the entities, and they're somewhat generically defined as Kubernetes resources sitting inside of a database table. Meshry server then, as a secondary tier of discovery, takes another look at all of those entities, those records, and says, oh, yep, you match that. Yep, that's your fingerprint. That your fingerprint matches this. Of all the models that I have, I see that you match these fingerprints. And so, yeah, your Istio, or your probably we would deal with it in Meshry server, at least initially. We might offload that and bring it closer to source at some point in mesh sync, so that Meshry server doesn't have to deal with it, and entities can be pre-qualified before they are sent or not sent to Meshry. Because if on the blacklist someone says, I don't care to learn about Istio,
Yeah, you've also indirectly answered one of the questions that I had. Was now speaking in terms of code, where would this functionality live? Because there was a possibility, if we wanted to move it to mesh sync, then we'd need to give mesh sync a bit more capability in terms of accessing the bigger picture. But then if it stays at the server level for this particular, at least for the time period that we're the initial implementation, then a lot of would not give mesh sync a lot of the power to maybe go through the databases that are there and something like that. So that was another question that I had at this point. Where do we want that functionality to live? So yeah. So thanks for
Okay.
the, yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's nice. Oh, good. Progress. Well, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for taking us through it. I think we're all set. I'll catch Daniel in a design spec today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And so
Yeah.
there's also, I'll ask, maybe we might ask Uzair to point out where part of the logic that Mesh-Tree server is doing today, where it is generically identifying components, or I'm sorry, generically identifying entities. Because if Mesh Sync does report on a Kubernetes service and it has attributes of being Grafana, if the Grafana model that's registered, even though it doesn't have a fingerprint, if it just says, if there's a resource that's of kind Grafana and of something else, there's just a generic, there's an initial default fingerprint, if you will, or a default set of attributes that if those align, which any number of times they do, oh, well then you might already see in the mesh, in the UI, in the Mesh Sync connections page, or the connections page with Mesh Sync, you might see some icons already showing up. If they show up, then that initial pre-fingerprint matching is happening. So, and so there's a little bit of a, yep.
Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. There's a section in the there's a section to add at least a bit more context on some objects that is in Mesh Sync. So yeah, I've talked over that with Uzair. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, very good. Okay. Monalika, what was the question about your GitPod PR?
Hello. Basically, it's not the question. Like, I want to tell about, like, I have made a PR on Gitpod on contribution specific. Like, if we want to contribute to the Mesh-Tree docs, so how could we like contribute it using Gitpod? So, like, I've added a segment in the docs part, like using Gitpod, how can we contribute? And I think I have reproduced all the steps mentioned here in the like last to last meet that I joined. So yeah, that's all about it. And one thing that I have to tell is that on if we have to like run and build Mesh-Tree on Gitpod, the one major issue that whenever we like whenever we close that workspace, like we have to again run the commands. Like for example, if I'm running or deploying Mesh-Tree using Mesh-Tree CTL in the Gitpod terminal, so once I close that workspace, I have to again install Mesh-Tree CTL and again restart the containers on my Docker to access Mesh-Tree. So it's a bit confusing to deploy Mesh-Tree on Docker using Gitpod. So I'm making a docs on that, and I will share soon, or make a PR, like whatever works or whatever fits. But I think this has been completed. Like this PR has been completed. If we are looking to contribute to Mesh-Tree docs using Gitpod, so yeah, this part has been added, and it's working fine for me from my side.
Cool. So this is about building the docs.
Yes.
Okay. We should, and so you put it under the docs for, okay. Does this work for, by the way, is it Gitpod with a lowercase p or Gitpod with a capital P? You should check. The port forwarding, yeah, double check if you would. The port forwarding right there, that link, it's got you're missing an A in your forwarding. The make docs, like we good, what you want to try to do is make the Okay, so you're not making a page specifically for Gitpod, right? You're adding to the existing docs page to say if you'd like to build on Gitpod, you can. And here's what would be divergent.
Yes, I'm thinking to make a separate PR. Actually, like my last PR has I forget to sign off on one of my commits, and during rebase I was facing a lot of conflict, so I closed that PR. On building and like as I've told, like if we are looking to make a separate doc on Gitpod, not contribution specific, like on building and running Mushree on Gitpod. So it requires like you have to run the commands because Gitpod workspace is dynamic. So once you close the workspace, your
I know, dude, I know.
whatever
Yeah,
you install,
I know that.
yeah, you need to again install and run the commands.
Yes.
So that's the thing.
That doesn't answer my question, no. Yep, I'm asking, are you trying to make a dedicated Gitpod page? Can you go to the top of the page, please? So
Yeah.
no, okay. So the answer is no, you're not. You're adding a section inside Meshry Docs for, hey, if you want to use Gitpod as your development environment, great, perfect. That's wonderful. If you go to the specific Gitpod section that you're referring to, then, or go to the part that where you've changed the page, please. Go to your changes is what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah, it's this part, like you did part.
Oh, probably the network is slow. Are you still at the top?
Okay, now it's fine.
Nope. It says for Windows. For Linux, you install Ruby, Mac OS. We're almost there. Anyway, the thing I was going to make sure that I was going to ask you is, you want to make sure not to repeat any existing instructions if you can. Where it's like,
Yeah.
make docs. Sure, I guess. Yeah, okay, good. And that's about the length of the section then, right? Using Gitpod, you explain it a bit. You'll run the regular procedure of like CD into the docs, then make them. And then probably the most important thing is like, hey, right here, this port forwarding for port 4000, be on the lookout for that. And here's how you can connect to it. That hyperlink that you have for how to port forward using SSH, great. You link out to their docs, the Gitpod docs. Does that, do they not make that available via the browser as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Is
we
there any
could do
reason
that.
Yep. Is there any reason that we're suggesting to do the SSH port forwarding?
Like if something is running in a 4000 port already, like there is any type of concepts or something like that on your Gitpod port 4000, and you could run it on your localhost port 4000 by like port forwarding using SSH.
Yeah, I understand that. And you can also go buy an Apple at the store. I'm asking why it is that you're specifically calling out SSH as the as the thing to do.
Because see, so let's suppose if it's taking like my connection is a bit slow, maybe it's taking a lot of time. So there is two things, like one is the access token, like which is like available publicly on the internet, and we could port forward using that, like it would be easier. I could have shown, see, if I open this,
Yep. Is there any, okay, we're not quite getting to the answer to my question, which is great. By the way, so Monolink, this is great. I'm your biggest fan, your biggest supporter and stuff. You're probably taking this as a learning moment to be like, well, shit, I don't know. Why am I telling people that?
see, like this is the part, like connect via SSH. So there is like two key, the SSH key and like access token. So we could port forward using this like using this token, and it's like it's different for every workspace. So we could port forward on a terminal, and the commands are here. Like how could we port forward on it? Like we have to write like SSHL, like we have to port forward on 4000 port, and then our workspace SSH connection, which is like what I've shown. So it's just like that.
Do they make the port available over HTTP?
Yeah, it's using port forward. We could access it using a local host, like HTTP localhost 4000.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I reproduce that we have time, but it's okay if we are like running out of time. Like I could show you using port forwarding how could we do that if it works. Otherwise, like if
I think
we
one
want
of
to.
my first computer science programs was port forwarding between. Yeah, I don't need you to show me how port forwarding. We're having a hard time communicating.
Okay. So I'll let you show. So okay, so this is a my GitHub terminal. Someone why it's not running, like my internet is a bit slow. Okay. I got a lot of CD.
Yeah, maybe Malika, you can share
Like,
the video in our Slack because we are already 30 minutes over.
hey,
But,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
it's good. I mean, I think that probably it can merge as you have it, Mona Lika. The section that you have that describes how to use a Gitpod. Just briefly highlights like, hey, if you want to do SSH port forwarding, that you can, and here's the instructions to it. This is good. Yeah. It sounds like the other.
Okay, so yeah, like my connection is a bit slow. I could like show you that like it won't take much time. Like if you would allow like how to access it using port forwarding. So I'll quickly show you, like it's not take much time. Okay. Um so like the command for it should be like this. So I think I have copied my token. Yeah. Yes, like if it's not copy pasting, like okay, I'll show it using a video maybe if that works.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and,
thanks.
yeah, I mean, I believe you that it works. It's just, I'm sure that
Yeah.
does. I'll go take a quick look at. Yeah, actually, your PR is good to go. Like, you've done what was asked, which is actually you did better than what was asked, because I was suggesting that maybe there needs to be a full page dedicated to Gitpod, but there doesn't. There just needs to be a section that calls out anything specific about what people would need to do to use Gitpod as their platform for contributing. And it doesn't look like there is anything specific. They can optionally port forward if they would like to. And great.
Yeah.
Nice. This is good. So for your other PR then on running Meshry and containers on Gitpod, you said there's a couple of updates that you want to put in, I think.
Yes. So the thing is, we look running Meshry on Gitpod. So like I'm making a separate PR if we want to build and run Meshry on Gitpod. So it will take a bit of research, and I'll submit a PR now probably in the coming week for a page separately dedicated to the Gitpod.
Okay, good. Are you going to close out your initial PR then in the meantime? Okay, cool. Well, thanks. Well, hey, see you on Wednesday, hopefully.
Okay. Bye bye.
Nice. All right. Okay. See you guys. Yeah. Bye, Monica.